Alright, so I've been getting a lot of requests to do some type of video on long range and short range rifles, or so-called recce rifles. So, what is a recce rifle? A recce rifle is a rifle that can be used to push the effective envelope of the M4/M16 rifle, or AR-15, whatever you want to call it. So you're looking to push the extended range, so 400 to 500 meters, and you also want it to be good at close range, so that being 50 meters and in, otherwise known as close quarters battle, or whatever you want, or close quarters. So that is our recce rifle. Now, how did they come about? Well, in about the 1990s, various special operations groups began to toy with the idea of what they called the M4 Sniper, which was an M4 or some type of rifle that they had in their inventory, and they added a magnified optic to it to allow it to reach out a little further than their standard rifles, which were fitted with either iron sights or some type of early aim point type red dot. So they were quite happy with these, and the development continued. Eventually, Naval Special Warfare would develop a rifle called the Mark 12 Special Purpose Rifle, which was a kind of recce/DMR-ish rifle. It had an 18-inch barrel, stainless steel, because stainless steel aids in accuracy, however it shortens barrel life. So that was kind of the recce rifle that they came up with. Since then, the recce rifle has been continuously tuned, and various things have been added and removed as people have been figuring out what works for pushing the envelope of these rifles to both short and long range. So what I'm going to talk about today is specifically my build that I have done for a recce style rifle. Realize that if you're a military, clone enthusiast, like you just have to clone a military rifle, that's not what we're talking about today. I'm not big on cloning military rifles piece for piece, says the guy with a Mark 18. Should you need to go out with your rifle and you're looking at engaging long and short distances to rescue your Japanese love pillow or something like that, the recce rifle will serve you very well. So let's talk a little bit about how I have my particular recce rifle set up. So first off, weight is one of my main concerns. I want to be able to patrol with this rifle, move with this rifle, and I don't want it slowing me down. So I have no type of bipod or anything like that, or any type of hardware that could slow me down in any way. Let's go ahead and let's start with the barrel of my rifle, because I think the barrel is a good basis of the recce rifle. So you have anywhere from 14.5 all the way up to 18 inches. Now I prefer to stick between 14.5 and 16 inches. I feel like the 18-inch barrel gets a little long. Unless you're a really big guy, maybe you're going to be able to handle it. Otherwise, I say stick a little bit shorter. The early recce rifles had carbine-length gas systems. However, rifle design has advanced a little bit, and the mid-length gas system is now very reliable. So I chose the mid-length gas system because it offers a smoother recoil impulse. What that allows me to do is put more rounds into a target more quickly. A lot of people have this one-shot, one-kill type mentality. That's just not the case when it comes to modern combat. So I like to be able to put multiple rounds very quickly into a target should I need to. So when it comes to your barrel length, first off, that's going to depend on the ranges at which you're planning to shoot. For example, if you're in big open country, big hills, big mountains, vast distances, and you're looking to push 600 meters on your rifle, which is about kind of getting towards the end of the effective range of the 5.56, you might want a 16-inch, maybe even an 18-inch barrel, because you're going to want that extra velocity. It's not that those barrels offer you more accuracy, it's just the slug's going to have a little bit more velocity behind it, which is going to allow it to travel further. If you're in an area like I'm in, which is mountainous and hilly, but it's a little more compact, I'm looking to make between 400 to 500 meter shots max. Most of my shots are going to be at 300 meters. Because of that, I'm more than happy with a 14.5-inch barrel, because that also offers me excellent opportunities to be able to use this in close quarters, which is kind of the point of the recce rifle. So what goes along with that is, what's the bullet weight that I'm going to be dealing with? And a lot of people like to be optimists about this. They like to say, hey, I'm looking to push this gun long range 100% of the time. I'm a no kidding, Navy SEAL sniper. I'm going to freaking kill everybody from super far away. That's a really cool mentality. And I'm balls deep in the idea of you doing that kind of stuff. But the reality of it is that you're probably not going to be launching 70 to 77 grain projectiles 24/7. If you are and you reload a lot, cool. You might want to look at some of the quicker barrel twists, such as 1 in 7 per inch or 1 in 8. But if you're like most people, you might be just launching 55 grain reloaded, or maybe even 62 grain if you're pushing it. With that in mind, a 1 in 8 or even a 1 in 9 is going to serve you well. But a lot of the nicer barrels made by some of the better manufacturers are mostly 1 in 7, which are able to launch those heavier projectiles. It's for that reason that most people end up going with that 1 in 7. Again, just look at what you're dealing with. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get a good setup, but you do want to make sure that you have a good foundation for your rifle and you have a good barrel manufacturer. A couple of good ones I can think of off the top of my head: a BCM, which is what I went with. You have Noveske, Rainier Arms. Those are some excellent barrels out there that provide you with a whole lot of accuracy. There's other great barrels out there: Daniel Defense, Colt, etc., etc. But point is, find yourself a good barrel that has a good reputation for accuracy and go from there. Now, building on my BCM barrel, I also have a very lightweight handguard. So there's some arguments for and against lightweight handguards. On the one hand, easier to patrol with, really thin, easy to grip, that type of thing. However, with that decrease in weight, you're sacrificing a little bit of durability compared to some of those older rails used by the military, such as the Daniel Defense wrist type rails and those types of things. So why did I choose the lighter rail? I found that the level of strength that the BCM KMR rail gave to me was acceptable. Now, I did not use the standard BCM KMR. I actually used the KMR Alpha, which is made from a slightly different metal makeup than the original BCM KMR, and I feel like this gives me enough stability, enough strength to be able to use it long-term in a more adverse condition. On top of that, many people have used this rail in adverse conditions, so I fully trust it. Now, as far as other good rails that are kind of in this category of thin, strong, lightweight, that type of thing, you have Noveske that makes them, you have Gh3 that makes them. There's a lot of good ones out there. In fact, Daniel Defense is now making their own little rails that are really thin as well. So find one that suits your fancy, that looks cool, and find a mounting solution that works for you. In this particular rail, I'm using the key mod system. Now, the key mod system, admittedly, will likely not survive the ages because it seems that everyone's going to be going with M-LOK, just because of recent military contracts and that type of thing. So, hey, maybe I chose wrong. No big deal. Just find one that works for you, because the key mod and the M-LOK both have lots of support behind them, so don't stress about it too much. Okay, when we're on the subject of my rail, let's also talk about where I have my items placed on it. So if you look at the very front of my rifle, I have just your standard Magpul backup sights. Are they the best solution? No, but I had them on hand and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on backup sights. Many other backup sights that are vastly superior to the Magpul backup sights, so I'd recommend you take a look at those. I'm not going to mention any specific ones, but rest be assured that there are better ones out there. Moving back from that, I have my tape switch for my light placed at the 12 o'clock position. Why is that? So when I'm handling my rifle, I'm able to easily activate the light through with either my left and or my right hand, should I be shooting from a offhand position, or so-called weak side, whatever you want to call it. Now, if I was running primarily night vision, I would move the tape switch back and I would instead put a PEC-15 or a D-ball or some type of IR laser illuminator at that location. Now, what goes along with that is, without any type of PEC-15 or D-ball, I like to keep the rail pretty slick. However, with a D-ball or PEC-15, because that rail gets a little fatter, I like to have some type of hand stop. I prefer the BCM kinesthetic angled grip. I find that very easy to use. It's perfect for me, but everyone's going to be different based on body mechanics and that type of thing. So find what works for you and go from there. If you notice, with any type of light, you're going to want some type of cable management system. So in this case, I went old school and I just use electrical tape. What I typically do is I use the electrical tape to get it nice and snug against my handguard, and then I use some type of medical tape, like cloth tape, and I wrap around that. The reason for that is that the electrical tape, it's mildly durable, but it's also shiny. The cloth tape gets rid of that shine, spray paint it black after that. That way you're not going to have any of that shine when you're trying to get yourself camouflaged and that type of thing. Moving to the light itself, I am using the Streamlight Protac light. And I pretty much did that because I wanted to try one of them out. I've been a huge Surefire fan. It's what I'm issued. It's what I use all the time. And I'm very confident in their abilities to work in adverse conditions. However, I wanted to see how the Streamlight would work because I've heard very good things about them. So far, I've done about 700 rounds on this rifle, and the light has held up fine. That being said, I'm not fully confident on the light until I put a couple more thousand through it. So, good light nonetheless. I have it on an Arisaka mount, which is an excellent mount. I can't recommend Arisaka enough. All right, moving back to kind of the big part of the Recce rifle, which is the Optic. The Optic is probably going to cost you more than the rifle itself. In this case, I'm using a Steiner M5Xi. Now, I want it to be known that Steiner did send this optic to me to review, look at, and that type of thing. So I consider myself a very impartial reviewer, and I'm not going to give a company a good review just because they gave me a product. I have no dog in the fight when it comes to this type of thing. So the Steiner is a good optic. It's very rugged. However, it is heavy compared to other optics which offer a 1:1:6 magnification level as opposed to the 1:5 offered by Steiner. As well, they cost a lot less. So there are other options I think might be slightly better. That being said, with the Steiner, you have a very robust optic. So I'm fairly happy with what I've seen. It also has very clear glass. Just realize that there are other optics out there that probably offer you a little bit more capabilities than the Steiner. Trijicon just came out with a 1:8 times magnification. So again, the whole point of this optic is that I can use it close quarters, so hence the 1x, and then push it out further, hence the 5 or 6 or 8x. In the case of the Steiner, it has a nice little red dot, so when I'm shooting it at close range and I'm at 1x, it's very easy to bring onto target. Is it as quick as my Aimpoint T1? No, definitely not, but it's a good compromise. On your scope, make sure you get yourself a good scope mount. I'm using a Bobro. There are other good mounts out there, such as Arrow and the LaRue mount. Just find one that works for you and that is durable. Moving back, VCM charging handle, which is my standard go-to just because I like the huge latch right here. Then finally getting back into my stock. So on the stock, I'm using the B5 Systems knockoff LMT SOPMOD stock. And the reason I use this is I like the cheek weld, especially when I'm using so-called absolute or low-mounted optics. With my facial structure, it works very well. Now, the cheek weld is very large. B5 makes one without the storage tubes right here, and so you can choose to use those. However, I do like the storage tubes because it allows me to put different things that I might need later in the mission. It also allows me to counterbalance the rifle if I have anything up front, such as a PEC or a D-ball or anything like that. If you're a Marine, you might want to put like crayons or something like that in there as a snack. If you're not a Marine, you can put in chem sticks, flashlight batteries, that type of thing. It's very handy to have on you. So, good options right here. When it comes to slings on the Recce rifle, I prefer a sling that is simple and easy to use. So it's for that reason that I go with the Proctor Way of the Gun sling, which I am a huge fan of. I use them on almost all my rifles. Now, a quick caveat with this is the Proctor Sling does attach with paracord. And on a rifle that is just like a quad-railed rifle, the little Picatinny sections have a tendency to begin to abrade the paracord over time, and it will eventually break. It's for that reason that I recommend the Proctor Sling for any type of slim handguard that doesn't have Picatinny rail going around the entire section, because on my Mark 18, it shredded the Proctor Sling quite quickly. By quickly, I mean over the course of about a year and a half. Now, that being said, even when it does break, it's very easy to repair. I can just add more paracord to that. And I want to let you know that with rifles that aren't fully quad-railed, that the Proctor Sling has done fine, and I've had no problems. Just be aware of it depending on what type of rifle you buy or that you use. The reason I use Proctor Sling is because it's easy to adjust. It is a little bit thin. It's definitely on the thinner side. Now, because of that, some people find that it digs into them when they're on long patrols, that type of thing. So again, you're going to have to find something that works for you. If the Proctor Sling is a little too thin for you, you can use other great slings, such as the Faro Concepts Slingster. You also have the Blue Force Gears Vickers sling. Those are excellent slings that will serve you very well. All right, guys, so that is my particular Recce rifle build. Hope this helped you out. I wanted to make sure that you guys were be able to rescue that Japanese love doll. That was definitely a top priority of mine. If you have any other questions about this, feel free to send me a message, comment. And for those of you who are concerned about the haircut, from time to time you go in front of higher ups in a regular uniform and you gotta look like you're in the military. So that happened. Anyhow, no matter what, guys, make sure your rifle looks cool. Make sure you look cool. Otherwise, there's literally no point to any of this. Stay safe out there, guys.